Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rosanna. Thank you, Rachel, and everyone else behind the scenes for this first meeting of No Half Measures. Hi, everyone. My name is Young. I'm a very grateful recovered addict. So grateful to be alive today. I was just sat here pondering the topic that I've chosen. The spiritual life is not a theory, we have to live it. And it comes from our page 83, and they're talking about amends. But like a lot of the words in the big book, when I start to really delve into them,
Non lo so,
after
è nel
mechanically,
IT
there's someone unmuted.
and
Grid,
it
I
can.
think you're
Oh,
unmuted.
sorry, I didn't realise.
Um, like a lot of these words, they start entering deeper than my head. They start entering into my heart, into my soul, and then I see how they kind of relate into many areas, not just that particular step. And I've just got to say, it's really good to see my Swedish friends as it is to see the rest of my friends from around the world. And the last time I saw them was at their convention, which I've got to say was on fire, was my favorite of the year. And I went to a lot this year. It was amazing. Anyway, back to topic. I think someone else is unmuted. Kick in. I think you're unmuted. So, the spiritual life is not a theory, we have to live it. What I've been reflecting on today, it was the anniversary of my father's passing. And this is the sort of place where I come from.
Young, I think you muted yourself.
Thank you. Okay, we'll get going again. As I was sat here reflecting today, I was reflecting on my father's, the anniversary of his death today. And this is where I come from, like a hopeless drug addict. Whilst he was dying, instead of being able to be there emotionally for him in his last hours, I was running back and forward to get heroin and alcohol and to take myself out of this place of pain that I felt and just take myself out of being human. And that's just where I come from. And I mentioned that because what took me into the gates of insanity and hell, my drug addiction. When I come into the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous, the last thing on my mind is the solution to this is a spiritual one. The solution to my problem is I'm going to need to live a spiritual life. That is absolutely the last thing on my mind. And it was the last thing on my mind for 10 years when I was in and out of the rooms, when I'm still relying on my mind to solve the problem. I'm still trying to rely on a broken mind to fix a broken mind, and then I'm surprised when I keep relapsing. I'm surprised that life keeps on being so spiky and so painful. I don't know what's going on. And I remember when I came in this time around, and people still say it to me actually. They used to say, "You're doing too much in Cocaine Anonymous. You're doing too much. You're going to burn yourself out." And when I sat in meditation one day, when someone said it to me once again, I thought, that's exactly what needs to happen. I need to burn myself out because it's myself that is the problem. It's myself that always leads me back to pick up. It's myself that tells me there's something to fear. It's myself that tells me I need to be in competition with you. It's myself that brings me the pain. But I don't know these things when I come into the rooms. All I know is I feel tired. I feel broken. I can't do this anymore. And you guys display something which looks attractive. You don't just say you're recovered because anyone can say words. But when I go into your home, your family loves you. When I see you with your children, you're smiling and they're smiling. It's the demonstration outside of these rooms that tells me someone is living a spiritual life, rather than clever words that I can use perhaps or quote in the book. It's how their feet are walking. It's how people around them are greeting them. That is something that I understand because when I'm new in, I don't understand the words. I don't understand a spiritual life. I don't understand God, spirit, steps, big book. I don't understand. But my eyes don't deceive me when I see some peace in your heart, the peace that I haven't got. And I think about the words from the big book that have become my walk today. I think about the simplicity of this 12-step program. It is so simple, so simple. Simple but not easy, it says, doesn't it? Simple but not easy. Trust God. Oh, that's where I struggle at first because I think God is some white man in a cloud with a beard that's going to strike me down for all the things I've done. I don't understand. And I heard a beautiful saying the other day. Everything you think God is, it isn't. And I had to sit with that because the spiritual life is not a theory. This is beyond things in my mind. This has to travel into my soul. So me trying to work out God, it ain't working for me. I had to do and I have to do some things and I experience God. And for me, and I know I'm jumping all over the place and kind of that's how I do today. I do some things at first because I'm so broken. I still feel the death of my father. I still feel the regret that I couldn't be there. I feel a million regrets when I come into the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous. I feel so remorseful and so ashamed, and I don't quite understand why is it I can't plug into life? Why do I feel so disconnected? And then I go back further for when I'm a little child. And this came to me in meditation recently also. When I was a young child, before I picked up drugs and alcohol, I was treated in a very bad and cruel way. They would call it abuse today, but they just used to call it the 80s, I think, back then. I'm making a bad joke there. But all my friends used to get beat by their parents. Anyway, I just used to get beat worse. My point in this, my sister reminded me this. She reminded me how broken I was as a child. And then she says, do you remember, young? You used to stop talking for days. When mum got rid of your dog that you loved, you stopped talking for 5 days. I would go inward to spirit. I would find it too painful. And so I would go inward. And what do I find when I get into the 12 steps? That this God, this spirit is deep down within me. It always was. It was the thing protecting me when I was a child getting treated badly. When I couldn't handle life itself, I would go inward to spirit. And so this is what had happened to me as I go through these 12 steps. I start tapping into this thing, this spirit, this power that's always been there. And when people said about doing the work, and I never liked that word work because I don't see the 12 steps as work. And then I realized the work is helping other people. That's the work. That's living a spiritual life. That when I'm turning to you, I'm not in this. When I'm turning to you, my love for you, my love for God, for spirit, keeps on growing. And I think about the simplicity of this program that I touched upon before I went off on a big tangent. Trust God, clean house, and help others. Now, when I hear, like I've already said, these words in the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous, I've got no idea what you mean. But then you show me, and as I go through the 12 steps, and I think about the page where it says something like, I've only got two choices. And if anyone goes out and relapses, it's because they've kept to the other choice. I can go on, it says, till the bitter ends. And what that means is I can keep trying. I can keep trying staying clean. And I can keep trying at life. But at the age of 43, it was quite obvious that me trying at life, I make a big mess of it. Of course, I can achieve some things, and I did before I burnt my life to smithereens. But what it means to me trying, I still have a disagreement with life, with some aspects of life. And then as I start waking up to what this is, the spiritual life is not a theory. When I start living this way, I see that there's no good or bad. There's no fair or unfair. There just is. Why is it my dad died? Why? Life just unfolds. And I needed to get into a place where I can unfold with life rather than resist life. And I don't know these things because I just believe when I come into the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous that this is about not using. And then I see it's not about not using. What does it say in our big book? I needed to find a power by which I can live, not by which I can be clean. Because when I can live, when I stop arguing with life, when I can see the miracle that is this moment, my mind stops twisting and I've got no need to pick up. I get into that recovered state. Um, So I've got two choices. I can go on. I can keep trying. I can keep getting beat down by life and I'll try harder. I'll try harder. And of course, I'm talking about using, but I'm talking about life itself. Bang. Oh, bang. And for me, I'm a very slow learner. So like Bill Wilson said, for me, pain is always the touchstone to spiritual growth. I always grow through pain and confusion and disharmony. I lean in. It reminds me how much I need spirit. I need God. And this is the beautiful one for any newcomers or anyone. Maybe you've been around a while and are still struggling with life. B, accept spiritual help. As simple as that. Accept. I And it says this we did because we honestly wanted to and we were willing to make the effort. Now, it for me, I can only talk for me. It was only when I was beaten to a smithereens from drugs and alcohol that I'm willing to accept spiritual help. I didn't come in the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous this time around missing drugs or thinking, oh, I'm gonna miss, I'm done. I stop arguing when you talk about God. When you said to me, Young, this whole thing's about God. This whole thing's about love. This whole thing is about service. And for me, it helped to smash what I thought God was. Because you said, have an experience with this power, have an experience with these steps. And you taught me that this isn't about theorizing. This isn't about learning the book, although that'll come in really handy because I need theory at first because I have no experience. I need to learn the basics of what this is about, why I'm doing it, what the root of my trouble is, which wasn't drugs or alcohol. Because if drugs or alcohol was my problem, the first detox would have fixed it. The second, the third, the fourth, the da 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 da. But then I see not from the pages, I see from my fourth and fifth step that the root of my trouble was selfishness, self-centeredness, driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-pity, i.e., my defects of character, different words for the same thing. The root of my trouble that makes me compare, compete, control, condemn, argue, be jealous, be impatient. All these human traits, these are the roots of my trouble. And perhaps the root of my trouble today is my agnosticism. Perhaps. Because I'm still learning and life is still unfolding as I carry on this spiritual walk. And again, I didn't come in here looking for a spiritual life. I thought a spiritual life meant wearing rings on your toes, burning joss sticks, living in a cave, and being all high and mighty. And I'm certainly not high and mighty. I'll give you a story. And look, I've been doing this walk almost 7 years now. So I'm like a baby. I'm like a baby. I lived the way I was living for all those decades. And now just for this short time, I've been living this way. So it's not surprising that sometimes my old way of thinking comes into my head. Yesterday, I was out having a meal and I was enjoying the meal and enjoying the company. And there was a couple next to us. And this guy in the restaurant put on his phone Ed Sheeran. Now, I know he's a popular artist, not really my taste, right? But to play music in a restaurant loud, it's not really the done thing. And my mind had a really not kind thought, to say the least. And my old self would have probably started being aggressive, my old self. And so that thought still comes in. Now, why am I sharing this? I had to pray a lot in that moment. I said, God, I don't know what to do. Please help me. Because I kind of come to the understanding that this isn't someone who's going to be reasonable with me if I stand up and say, excuse me, can you turn your music off, please? But yet my mind doesn't want to lose faith. So I'm praying, and the thought and the feeling that come to me was, when you don't know what to do, do nothing. The spiritual life is not a theory. I have to live it. And by doing these practices over and over and over again, the consistency, the persistence of my prayer, of my meditation, of my step 10, of my step 12, of my turning, those sort of behaviors don't happen. I don't stand up. I don't cause a scene. I don't cause embarrassment to the person I'm with or to other people in the restaurant just because I want to save face. What are they going to think about me if I don't do anything in this man? All that nonsense. I'm able to sit in the pause. Spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. Um, in We Agnostics, and I love this bit. I see it so often in the rooms. It says, to die an alcoholic death or a drug death, or to live on a spiritual basis, are not always easy alternatives to face. Now let's just put that on paper. We're all sat here today, 89 of us. Whoop, whoop, 89 on your first meeting. That's amazing. 89 of us today, clean and sober, so we're all miracles in this moment. We're drug addicts, man. We should be out there smashing drugs, but we're not. That's miraculous. I hope, I pray, I never take that for granted. I never take the fact that I don't use drugs for granted. Um, okay, where was I? To live, to die, to live, to die an alcoholic death. Okay. Now, we all know people that have died from this illness. Many of us know many people. I know many that have died. I get phone calls once a month, about once a month, some poor soul again. And it's like, okay, let's put this on paper. If I carry on, I'll die from this illness either quickly or slowly, either quickly or slowly. And they used to call me the walking dead. I used to have dead eyes. My emotions were dead. And when I came into you and I got clean at first, I used to always say things like, oh, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like this? And someone said, you feel like this because you're human. You're meant to feel. You've spent so many years numbing normality, numbing feelings that now it might feel a little bit uncomfortable. So, whew, to die an alcoholic or drug death, quickly or slowly. Okay, that to me today doesn't sound very attractive. Or to live on a spiritual basis. Okay, what is a spiritual basis? What's a spiritual basis? Okay, I spend time helping others. That's a spiritual basis. I try and be kind and considerate and loving and caring and tolerant and pray and meditate and read and this is the beautiful thing. It looks different for everyone. What I do might be totally different from you. And that's great. And that's amazing. So I can die or I can do these things each day. But me being selfish and self-centered, I might say something like this. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? To get a deep sense of purpose, meaning and direction into your soul. To have a relationship with your creator that you can't explain in your mind. And to become the best version that you've ever been. And to find love, not just for others, but for yourself. That's what's on offer. So why is it I find that so difficult as a newcomer? Because my ego rebuilds, tells me I don't really need to do this stuff, and it can't understand the spiritual life because this isn't a theory. This is something that as I start getting into it on a deeper level, my heart softens, my mind is transformed, my eyes are changed, And I often share this. This is one of the things that has happened to me, that keeps happening to me. And man, just so many amazing things keep happening to me. And I'm not talking about external things, because that's just external things. I'm talking about internal, about how I view life, how I feel life, how I experience life, not through the eyes of my defects, but through the eyes of God. Much of the time. Certainly not all of the time, because I am a defective person. What is it they say in the book? An outright mental defective. Yes, yes, yes. Broken soul. Yes, yes, yes. Just a little bit less broken today. A little bit less defective today. Um, hmm. To live on a spiritual basis, and not always easy alternatives to face. On paper, it should be a very easy alternative to face. And I only chose this spiritual path when I had nowhere else to go, when I was so beat down, and I believe I was surrendered. Something surrendered me and gave me an opportunity. Something cracked open my heart so that I had a short window of opportunity to become awake to this fire inside me. And then, like any fire, I have to keep feeding the fire, else the fire goes out. And how many guys do we know in Cocaine Anonymous where the fire goes out and they go and we lose them? So this is one of the things that's happened to me. The last 2 years of my using, a lot of you have heard my story. I had no possessions. I was living in a very grotty apartment. I was very, very skinny. I had bones sticking out of everywhere, my ribs, my face. I looked like I'd been dug out of the ground, very white in complexion. I was wearing very bad, you get I looked like a stereotypical junkie. I looked like the person that I said I would never become. And I can see today that was the gift I was given today. Because the best gifts that I'm given never come in boxes with bows and balloons. They always come in pain and confusion, like I've already said. And every single day for that 2 years, I didn't see one single person apart from my drug dealer or drug dealers, apart from the person in the liquor store where I'm going to steal bottles of vodka, the person in the chemist where I'm going to get my methadone. And so my world becomes very small. And every single day when I'm waking up, I'm wanting to kill myself. And when I reflect on that, the fact I didn't kill myself, I can't, like, how did that not happen? I was in so much pain. But I understand a little today that I needed to go through all that pain so I could be reborn, like it said in the third step promises. Something in me had to die. And for those 2 years, I was dying. Every single part of me was dying. My mind, my physical, and my soul was dying so that I could be reborn. But I have not a clue, and I want to die every day. And what's happened through living this way of life where I rely on God and don't rely on my mind? Or God, spirit, power. For me, the word is so unimportant. It's the experience behind the word that I'm having in this moment. And I used to open my eyes every day, whenever. It was usually early evening when I came to. Because I would try and go to bed so late so that I could sleep through the days because I couldn't bear the light. I could not bear the light. And now I sit in the light. I need the light I need the light. So what happens when I'm sat in the dark? Well, the lower power has got me. The lower power. And so as I started going through this spiritual alchemy of the 12 steps, I start being transformed. And then suddenly, one day, I look out the window at a rainbow, and it looks like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And I feel like a young child. You know, when you see young children and they're putting mud on their face, like, whoa, a rainbow. super amazing. I feel like that. And that's what I feel like every day. I'm pretty annoying. I'm like, what? God's entered my heart. Well, no, let me pause. Spirit had always been in my heart. I'd just been asleep for so long. But now I see, I come to believe what seemed like a flimsy reed turns out to be the powerful hand of a loving God, a loving spirit that was always there. I was just a very lost soul for so many decades. I was in the dark. And now I start waking up to what is, the beauty of what is. And so, on one hand, through living this spiritual way of life, which is just a very simple way of living for me, I'm transformed to have 5-year-old eyes. I was washing my glasses when I came on here because they looked a bit steamy, and I realised it was my eyes that needed it was steamy. Anyway, on one hand, I've been transformed to a child, but on the other hand, I'm now a man. I don't act like a child. I'm childlike, but not childish. The spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. So it relates to step 8 and 9. And for me, this is where I really start living this stuff when I go out and make the amends. Because up to this point in the 12 steps, step 1, I've just seen what I am. I'm a drug addict. I'm going to use drugs. If I rely on this, I'm going to use drugs. I'm going to find life spiky, lack of power. I haven't got the power not to pick up. But also, I haven't got the power not to be angry when life doesn't go my way, not to be resentful when life doesn't go my way, not to be, because I'm selfish, self-centered, and I'm only okay when life goes how I think it should be. The I is the problem. So step 1, step 2, and step 3, they're just considerations. I haven't gone through any change, really. Step 1, okay, I understand what that means, finally. Because step 1 acts like the catalyst. How do I know when someone doesn't understand step 1? Or let me pause on that. How do I know when someone does understand step 1? Because they are all into this spiritual way of life. They are all in. Step 2, okay, I'm willing to believe that this might work for me. Step 3, I make a decision to go and seek this power. 4, I write some stuff down. I share it in 5. I see myself clearer. Oh my God, how have I lived this long being this selfish, this angry, this... The answer? Heroin, crack cocaine, alcohol. That's how I lived this long. Because without those things, life felt so spiky. And then 6 and 7, I go to God. So by this stage, I am praying. I don't know what I'm praying to. I still don't really understand it, but I'm just doing it. And when I look back that relating to this talk, the fact that I'm praying when I don't understand, that means I'm starting to live a spiritual life without even knowing that I'm living a spiritual life. The fact that I'm doing service from day 1 in Cocaine Anonymous means that I am living a spiritual life without understanding I'm living a spiritual life. The fact I'm picking up a newcomer and taking them to meetings, the fact I'm doing things for other people means that I'm starting to turn towards this light. All these things, as well as the 12 steps, are helping to wake me up to the truth of spirit. The spiritual life is not a theory. God is not a theory. I have to live it. And I keep quoting this, and it's a famous saying, but me seeking God or spirit or love or power is like a fish in the ocean looking for the water. I'm already in it. I'm in it. 1 + 1 is 1. I am part of this oneness. I am part of the trees. I'm part of the wind. I'm part of, I was going to say fish then, but you get what I'm saying. It's only when I can't see this, when I find life difficult and spiky, when I can't feel that I'm part of the oneness, I feel this separation, this spiritual thirst for oneness that I feel with alcohol, with drugs, with gambling, with women, with something always need, and humans, they try and fill this spiritual void. Thank you very much. People always needing, I need a car, I need. And this is the beautiful thing through living this way as a way of life, as a design for living. There's nothing that I need. I don't need anything today. I got into meditation, and what came to me was, God, please help me get deeper into life so I become less attached to it, less attached to it. So I get to step 8 and 9. And for me, step 8 and 9 are so deep. It's like each amends that I make, I'm making a deeper surrender. I'm making a deeper surrender. Each amends I make, there's a little bit of the old me that is dying. I am starting to feel something now. My head is held high. I see that I'm not a bad person. I see that there is pure goodness in me, actually, when I start tapping deeper than the root of my problems, selfishness and self-centeredness. And I get beyond that, because this for me is a journey from my head to my soul. And when I start getting into my soul, I feel that I am pure love and goodness and harmony and serenity when I'm at one. The spiritual life is not a theory, we have to live it. And so I go out and make these amends. I make these amends. And now I'm living. And now I'm living this stuff. And now it's seeping into me. And now this stops becoming just some exercise, just some academic exercise of the 12 steps. And it starts becoming a dance. I start being able to hear the music. I know what the moves are. They come intuitively. I'm not relying on me anymore. I'm relying on spirit. I'm not trying at life anymore. I'm relying on spirit. I'm lying down in the stream of life, allowing it to take me. No good, no bad, no fair, no unfair. It just is. Am I able to sit in that if it's uncomfortable, if it's painful, if it's confusing? Am I able to sit quietly when in doubt? Am I practicing these principles in all my affairs? Am I able to pause when agitated? Because for me, it's all these simple practices that continue to transform my soul so that I don't go to sleep and so that I keep on growing spiritually. Because I did the theory, absolutely. I did the theory of the big book. I continue to study and go on big book studies. I've always been on a big book study for the last 7 years. Different teachers, different words, different spirits, because they help me to see things that I can't see. So I do the theory, but then the spiritual life is not a theory. Any fool, I remember one of my teachers said, Young, any fool can learn a book. This is about walking at one with spirit. When the spiritual life stopped becoming a theory and started becoming my walk, when it stopped becoming theory and started becoming a practice, all sorts of remarkable things started to follow. To quote the big book, I now know I've got a new employer. I'm now less and less interested in myself. Fear of economic insecurity suddenly leaves me. I suddenly stop feeling useless and I start feeling useful. So for me, the spiritual life is a daily practice. I have these steps 10, 11, and 12 that I'm grounded in. That I wouldn't dream of missing my daily meditation and prayer in the same way that I wouldn't dream of not eating. Because eating fills me up. My prayer and meditation fills my cup, fills my soul and empties me of this also. So again, to repeat, I didn't come in here looking for a spiritual life. I didn't know what I didn't know. But thank you for you guys for showing me that there was something amazing on offer in the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous. That even you that had been around for decades, you said we can't really put this into words, Young. We try our best when we speak, but it goes beyond words. It goes beyond our mind. It is so deep and so beautiful. It lightens up our soul. And when you talk like this, I'm like, what? I want what you've got. So today, this is not a theory exercise. This is a design for living. My relationship with God is something that just seems to flow into me without me trying. And that sounds very arrogant. What I mean by that is I just do these things over and over and over again, and just something keeps on happening to me. I'm not trying anymore. I just do these different things. I sit in meditation and different people will come into my mind and I'll give them a call and we'll have a conversation and suddenly something grows inside me or a little bit of literature, spiritual, a couple of lines. I go into meditation. I get intuitive thoughts and the walk continues. And the beautiful thing is that there's no end to this. There's no end to this. There's no goal to reach. That was my problem before. I was always trying to reach some sort of goal. There's no goal to reach. There's no one to impress. There's just a life that started off at the beginning, challenging, annoying, difficult, angry, impatient, intolerant. And through these practices, through living this way of life, has become, life's become very light. I wear life very light on my shoulders today. And I still can't believe it. Like I said at the beginning, I know my time's probably coming up. Um, I hope to always put at the core the fact that I'm clean and sober. This isn't about, for me, trying to be, like some guru or something like that. It's like I'm a drug addict and I'm free from that today. And hopefully I can be useful today. And I will end it on this. You guys have not only shown me, like you guys have shown me and continue to show me so much. The people I probably learn the most spiritually off are probably the newcomers and my new sponsees. They teach me something just I can't even bring into words. So you guys have taught me not only how to get rid of this terrifying, and it was a terrifying drug habit, an alcohol problem, but the secret to life itself. The secret to life itself to be useful. And so when I'm being useful, I'm living this way of life rather than it being a theory. So when I go into meditation tonight, I'll ask myself, have I been kind to people today? Um, Thank you so much, guys. It's such a privilege to speak at your first meeting. Thank you for setting it up, sending love to you all. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much.